On the table here, I have a Shimano Deore crankset. In this video, I'll show you what's involved in replacing the chain rings. In this particular case, replacing the chain rings was necessary because they were worn so much that the chain was skipping teeth on them. On the left side here, I have a chain ring that's worn beyond service limit. I know this because when I put it on the crank and apply some force on it, this is skipping teeth on the chain, really badly worn. On the right side, I have the new, which is basically fresh out of the package. If I look at the teeth on the new one, I might be tempted to say, how is this an improvement over the old one? Yes, the old one has some shiny surfaces that show some wear, but then look at the stubby, worn looking teeth on it. These new teeth are just as stubby and short. Like, look at that. The difference shows up only when you put them really side by side, something like this. Now, the short and stubby teeth on the old one don't wear that much. If I rotate just a little bit here, you can see how the matching teeth, which is this one I'm looking at now, you can see how much this tooth has lost. This is how it looks when it's new. So likewise on the next one, the teeth, the taller teeth, get sharpened or shaped to a point. So that's why this one is skipping teeth on the chain and is complete garbage. So to replace the chain rings, you need to take the crank off the bicycle, obviously, and that's in another video. This particular crankset is that FCT 4010. It has chain rings of 2 pitch diameter. Pitch circle diameter is indicated on the package. The baby gear, this is a 3-by system. I have all the bits around me. So this pitch circle diameter on the baby gear is 64 millimeters. A 64 millimeter pitch circle diameter thing, that means this is a 64 millimeter circle through the center of those bolts. And make sure you get one that specifically says it's a Deore and that says it's a 3x9 drivetrain system, so 3 chain rings at the front, and it's a 9-speed bicycle, so 9 sprockets on the cassette set at the rear. On some crankset models, not this one, the chain rings can just come off the crank. They can just be pulled off, all of them. And for this, in this particular case, it needs a 5 millimeter Allen key. And the nuts and bolts look like this. Obviously, everything's been loosened and taken apart here. And these steel nuts and bolts will be stuck to, seized, or corroded to the aluminum components. For this demo, I only have 2 of the chain rings here fitted because it's easier to take off just 2. So in most cranksets, the chain ring just comes off the crank, yes? But on this 3-by system, you have to take the whole crank off the bicycle because the baby is only gonna come off from the inside. So it's not gonna come through these spars of the crankset. These will be seized to some degree to the aluminum crank arm. Steel bolts, aluminum, there will be some corrosion. Now, the bolts, and then this one just comes off. The bolts are identical, however, these ones from the inside might still have some blue, I'll show you this one, some blue threadlock compound still present on them. When you assemble this, you're gonna need to put some threadlock compound on the bolts so you don't lose them or they don't come loose. So this is the crank you end up with. So this was a 64 millimeter circle. The outer one also has a number. It's a bigger circle here from bolt center to bolt center. These ones are 104 millimeter pitch circle diameter chain rings. So assembly is in reverse order. Obviously, put the big one on the outside, like so, and then the middle one from the inside. It doesn't matter because it's all taken apart. Now, you do make sure that they are rotated correctly, okay? So, I'll show you how they lie flat properly. They have to be fitting like so. So this raised surface on the chain ring should be facing the baby, the smallest chain ring, yes? Because it's helping jump the chain from the smallest to the middle. Okay, so if you put it on wrong, it's just not gonna shift very efficiently because this side is flat, so don't do that. Okay, so this has to be rotated like that. Next one, the baby, the smallest chain ring. It looks flat on this side and it looks flat on this side. So which way does it go on? The teeth still have some directionality to it. So put it on with the letters showing like so. So that's how it goes on. This is the way the teeth engage with the drivetrain when you're pedaling. This is the direction it's meant to be used, and it's rotating this way. So these sharky teeth, whatever, they bite into the chain like this, not this way. The teeth are meant to go this way. Likewise, or what last item, the outside. The outside is fairly straightforward. This pin has to go there, facing the crank, okay? So put it on like this. It lies flat, yes. So besides the issue of sidedness, there's also an issue of position. I mentioned previously that this pin needs to be facing the crank arm. On this middle and the smaller chain rings, there is an index tab on both of these, and they need to be facing in the same direction where the crank is. That would be this direction. So that one lining up with the crank, and on the small chainring, the same idea. This index tab should be facing this way, lining up with the crank. So again, this is the correct alignment of the chain rings. And yes, I went ahead and used this torque wrench, and the torque specifications are coming out of this Shimano service manual. And for a triple chainring type crank assembly, these are the torque specs. I'm going to include a link to this document in the description box. When you're shopping for replacement chain rings, it's a good idea to keep the set together. There are options here with the number of teeth count, and I'll show you what can happen when things go wrong. So for the small chain rings, this one has a 64 millimeter pitch circle diameter, and the two larger ones are 104 millimeter each. So far, so good. The original design of the set was a tooth count of 26, 36, 48. So that's a difference of 10 and a difference of 12. nice and gradual, and it's an even spread. This was part of a 3x9 system, part of a 3x9 system, and part of a 3x9 system. Nice. And all of them part of the same set, all Deore level. So it's a matching set. This one doesn't say Deore, but it is logically part of the set. Now, here is this product here, which looks alike. 36 teeth, so same as this one in the middle. 104 millimeter pitch circle diameter, check. But this is part of a 2x9 system. If you look at the sprocket, it looks very similar. It mounts with 4 bolts. I don't want to take it out of the packaging. However, there are differences between this one and this one. For a starter, this one has a spacer pin there that this one doesn't need, because that's how it makes sense in a 3x9 system. That's not a problem. You might be tempted to, just cut it off and this will work. No, it will not. Take a look at one thing here. You see this little lip here? This is where the screw or bolt holds it down, and there's a lip here. On this one, there isn't. It lies flat, and there is no lip here. That lip will guarantee a problem. If you try to mount this one, that's an Alivio group set, or part of an Alivio group or set. When you mount this one, this middle chainring here, onto this, it guarantees a center to center distance between these two chain rings, which is different with this one because of this extra lip here. The teeth, the line of teeth will be closer to the large chain ring. That's fine, but if you have a third one, then the distances between the three, and I'm coming up with imaginary numbers here. Let's say 10 millimeter jump and another 10 millimeter jump here for the chain to do. Instead of 10 and 10, your gaps will be, say, 12 and 8. The problem with that is that your shifter will only pull the length of the cable that's enough for a 10 millimeter jump. That's how this Shimano indexing system works. So if it's not set for the correct chainring center to chainring center distance, this might look alike. You might be able to mount it with the same bolts, same bolt holes. It will not work. If you compare the old one with the new one, you might see between chain rings that there are slight design differences. You can see this is more pointed on the old one, and this is more rounded on the new one. It fits, it's got the same pitch diameter, it's got the same tooth count, and they might have revised the tooth design to it. As long as it's part of one set with the same center to center distances, and you can be certain if it's part of one set that it will work with your shifter and your front derailleur as originally designed, and it should.